Hey guys, it's Grand Admiral Thrawn, and at the end of my last video, I gave a hint of what this video would be, and that hint was similar to a clone, but not a clone. And that basically sums up what the Elite Squad were. I mean, they wore clone armor, but they were no clones. I mean, they did follow a clone into battle, but that was about it. And apart from their armor, they are nothing like a clone. So, similar but not. That's the hint. Anyway, before this video begins, I just want to say one quick thing. Bad Batch Season 3 is coming out soon. I am so excited for that. So you can be sure to expect some videos. Like, obviously, I already did the Bad Batch for Season 2, so not them, but other characters that might pop up. I'll probably do videos on them and stuff, but yeah, be sure to expect some videos on that. Anyway, let's get into the video. The Elite Squad Trooper, I think they did a really good job, and there are a bunch of things about this figure I do like, but there's also some things about this figure that I don't like, and we'll get to the negatives. But for right now, we're going to start with some of the positives. One of the positives being, I love how this looks exactly like just a clone armor, but then they have the gray and green instead, where they swapped that out. That looks great. Like, it looks exactly like a clone trooper. It's got the same mold as a clone helmet, the same belt and same armor and everything, same gun as a clone trooper. It looks great like that. And then even just like the shoulder pads, here's something that I never really actually talk about, but when you want to lift the arm, how it's like that on a clone trooper. They did that here too. I think they just took a clone mold and painted it gray and green, but that I'm fine with that. And speaking of the coloring on this figure, this is one of the negatives. Now, it could actually just be the way they're animated in Bad Batch, but when I'm watching Bad Batch, it looks like they have some form of camo gray that they're wearing. But here, I don't see any camo. I just see dark gray on the trooper. Now, it could just be the way that Bad Batch is animated, but I'm pretty sure that they're meant to have like a dark gray camo to them. And the same thing with the Crosshair figure. At least from pictures, I don't actually own the evil Crosshair armor Crosshair. But yeah, looking at this figure and from pictures of that one, it doesn't look like they gave either of them the dark camo gray to it. They just gave them dark gray and dark black. There's no camo really to them. And that's a bit of a negative. Although if that is just how Bad Batch animates it, then that's not a negative. I guess that would just be something strange. Anyway, yeah, another positive that this figure has, to get off the negatives for a bit, I love how the visor, like what the clones see out of, or in this case, Elite Squad Trooper, is green, like how it is in the show. Like, this guy, see his screen here, his visor is green. It's not black, it's green. It's green in the show, so it's green on the figure. I like that detail. And then, yeah, they've got some pretty great detailing on this figure, such as his armor. That looks great. The belt around the armor, it looks great. I mean, there's not much really you can ask for it. It's just your clone mold painted gray, it seems. Yeah, the hand molds for how he holds his accessories are just your average ones. One that holds the gun and one that holds nothing, except maybe the rest of the gun. Speaking of his gun, this is actually a major negative I have with this figure in that in the show, there are several members of the Elite Squad, which is a good thing because it wouldn't be much of an Elite Squad if there's one guy. But the thing about that is, when you get this figure, if it only comes with the one gun, then it's just the one member of said squad. What they do with other figures, for example, the clone trooper that I did in my last video, is he has the rifle here, but he also has the short blaster, so you can make it either win whichever you want it to be. However, with this figure, you're only given the little blaster. You don't have a rifle or a flamethrower or different guns. You only get this one. And that's a bit of a negative here because that really takes away from it, especially because one thing that a bunch of people remember about his Elite Squad is the one member had a flamethrower For very dark reasons, people remember that one of those members indeed had a flamethrower, but instead you only get the one blaster. So that's kind of a negative in that if you bought a bunch of them, you could never have the member who holds a flamethrower. It's not that big of a negative, but it's still a bit of a negative in my mind. I still like this figure. I just think that they should have given more accessories, at least the rifle. It may be a bit too dark for them with the flamethrower based on that scene, but they could at least do the rifle. And yeah, there's not much. The helmet is not removable, but even if it was, it wouldn't really matter that much. Yeah, I think they did a really good job with the armor and everything on this figure. That all looks great. The helmet looks good. Here's an up close of it, like how they have that detailing on the back of it as your average Clone Troopers helmet. That looks great. So for right now, we're going to come back to the figure and we're going to go over the box. And I actually really like this box. That red fits the Bad Batch of how it's a dark red like Hunter's armor is, or well, not just Hunter, the rest of them's armor, how it's gray and red. That fits it because the box is gray and then it's red. So that fits it very well. On the back, same picture as the side, except with a giant price tag sticker because they always put them there for some reason. And yeah, I think they did a really good job with this box. It's simple but good. The Elite Squad Trooper, for some reason Bad Batch did this where, unlike with Rebels, when you bought all the Rebels figures, they weren't their Spectre numbers, but they still lined up and it was every member. With Bad Batch, they did Hunter and Crosshair, Elite Squad Trooper, Tech Wrecker, etc. And it was just like, why wouldn't they do the entire Bad Batch and then the other characters that are in the show? Anyway, that's just a bit of an issue with the figure. It's not this figure's fault, it's the people that released it's fault. So yeah, that's not a figure issue. That's just, seriously, why wouldn't they just do the Bad Batch in order? But with everything negative I've said about this figure, I still think it is a great figure. The detailing is very nice. I like it. It's a great army builder, especially if you want a Bad Batch Elite Squad army and you have your Crosshair figure. It works very good with that. And yeah, there's not really much else to say about this figure. One thing, there's actually a member of the Elite Squad that survives in Bad Batch Season 1, so maybe that member could show up in Season 3? Very unlikely, but that's possible. Anyway, this is Grand Admiral Thrawn signing off. This figure, unfortunately, with all the negatives I've listed, is not a 10 out of 10 and will instead be a 9 out of 10 because it's still a really good action figure that I recommend you buy if you want one. But anyway, this is Grand Admiral Thrawn signing off, and I look forward to our next encounter in my next video.